What's going on with the beautiful people today? I hope you're having a fantastic day. So, as you seen in the thumbnail, we got some stuff to talk about. It's going to be a good one. I got some people that you've never seen before on this platform or any of the platforms that I'm on right now as far as coming live with me. But I'm very happy to introduce you to them. Y'all are going to love them. So before I do that, I need y'all to do me a favor. Hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, ring the bell so you never miss another update. And here we go. We got this. We're about to do this thing. First up, my man's KG, Smoke Pole TV. What's up, brother?
What's going on, people? Hey, Cash, appreciate you inviting me on the show. Looking forward to the discussion. Smoke Pole TV on all platforms, and looking forward to chopping it up with you, brother.
All right. Next, we got SK Double Down Dub.
Hey,
what's up, SK? How you feeling?
I'm good. This is my first time doing this, so
yeah, I'm excited to have both of y'all on, especially for this topic. So, the topic, right? Is Trump a racist? I mean, people keep on telling me that they can't believe that I voted for a racist, right? And I just be like, really? So then I started doing some digging, watching a whole bunch of videos. And, you know, I've done this multiple times. If you've been following me, you know that I'm like, look, I can show you where he's not a racist. And they're like, nah, he's still a racist. And I'm like, all right. Well, then I found this interesting clip that I want to share with y'all real quick. And then we're going to talk about it. So let me go ahead and pull it up. And here we go.
African Americans built this nation. You built this nation. You know, you're just starting to get real credit for that. Okay, I don't know if you know that. You're just starting to get, you built the nation. We all built it, but you were such a massive part of it. Bigger than you were given credit for. Does that make sense?
Now, my man just came out and said, African Americans built this nation. We all built it, he said. But y'all had a real big part in building this nation. I don't think a racist would give credit to that. I personally, I don't think a racist would give credit to that. So what do y'all think? We'll start with you, Smoke. Go ahead.
It's a very, very, very complex question and a great one. It's a great topic of discussion because racism to me is not my major concern. Now, although I do believe that, and I'm a Trump voter, I'm a Trump supporter. I'd support him a million times over. And I went to the largest HBCU in the country. So what he did for historically Black universities was phenomenal. They used to beg for accreditation every year. He had incredible relationships with, rappers and a couple other prominent people in the Black community and so forth. So I do believe that, I do believe that he's no more racist than any other person, and a lot less racist than if you wanted to compare him to like a Biden. I say that to say this, even the levels of racism, when I see him talk about like, when he's talking about Mexicans and he's eating tacos and stuff like that, I think there are hints of racism that are very identifiable, but then you have that in all people. I think that racism, though, is a concern of people in need. Racism is a concern of the needy. If the more you need someone that doesn't look like you to educate your children, to protect you from the evils of the world, the more you need, the more you care about racism. So okay. I believe that, racism typically is just something that, if you're a real man, you shouldn't ultimately be concerned with, which is why I really supported Trump, more so on his principles than just if he was racist or not. But I do believe that there are things that he has said that could have a racist element to them. It's just not one of my concerns.
That's fair. All right. SK, what you think?
I definitely don't think he's racist. I think we can look at his history and all of the things that he's done throughout his life and the people that he's been friends with and close to. And I think that, Millie's here.
Yeah. Send her. Can you send her the link into her Discord?
Yeah, I can try. Yes, I think I can. Hold on just a second. Let me finish this real quick.
Go ahead.
So, I think that his friendships and the things that he's done to help people throughout his life, I think shows that he's not racist. But Also, I feel like the reason that this is such a big topic is that they have to keep us divided. If we're not divided over something, they have to keep us divided by class. They have to keep us divided by, race. They have to keep us divided by all these things because, what would happen if we all just united and said, all right, yeah, there are some assholes over here that, are probably racist and are probably, actually trash people on both sides of the aisle. But if everyone just comes together and we say, okay, those people are bad, whether they're on the right or they're on the left, and we all come together and we put those things aside and we start talking about solutions to the problems that we have, they don't want that to happen. So keeping us divided by talking about things like this, I think, is their go-to. I've experienced a lot of racism because the second I tell people I'm Native American, they're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yeah, I am.
Okay.
So, I think it just is a way to divide people.
I agree 100%. So I want to come back to you, Smoke, after I play this clip. All right. This is what Trump thinks about people calling him a racist, especially the news. So check this out.
When Congressman Elijah Cummings calls you a racist, your reaction is what?
Well, I think the word has really gone down a long way because everybody's called a racist now. Her own party called Nancy Pelosi a racist 2 weeks ago. The word is so overused, it's such a disgrace. And I can tell you, I'm the least racist person there is in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And they use it almost when they run out of things to criticize you. They say, he's a racist, he's a racist. Now, in some cases, it's true. There are people that are racist, bad people.
Facts.
But with me, they have a hard time getting away with it, and they don't get away with it. And if you look at what I've done for African Americans between, look at criminal justice reform. President Obama tried so hard to get it, he couldn't get it. You look at opportunity zones, and then, of course, look at the opportunity zones are a tremendous success, by the way, not covered. But we did that as really an experiment. It's most successful. I think it's one of the most successful things ever done for the inner cities. It's turned out to be. Tim Scott of South Carolina worked very, very hard on it. So many other people did, and it's really become a great success. The biggest beneficiary are African American. The African American population, it's incredible what's happened. But between that criminal justice reform, and then, of course, the biggest thing is the lowest unemployment rate in the history of this country for African Americans. Lowest in the history by far. It's not even close.
But
so when you see those things, and when people, if the news, the lamestream or mainstream or whatever you want to call it, media or fake news, if it would be covered, people would feel a lot different. But they don't talk about that. They don't talk about opportunity zones. I don't think I've ever seen anything about opportunity zones. I don't think I've seen, when I did criminal justice reform, everybody would say, I won't tell you names because I'm not looking to build them up. But
shout out to Trump for that prison reform. Brought me home early. I appreciate you, President Trump, and I'm glad you got another 4 years.
The biggest names were there on the other side, liberal side and conservative side. It was very bipartisan. But they don't even talk about it anymore. If somebody else did it, if President Obama did criminal justice reform, which is so good for the African Americans, so good, so important, letting Alice out, getting our shit, 28 years left to serve. Jack Johnson, who was so unjustly convicted, the great heavyweight champion from the early 1900s. So many things we've done. If President Obama did that, it would have been great. When I do it, Steve, people don't want to talk about it.
But there's
Big facts. Big facts, man. So I wanted to circle back, all right, to Smoke, because Smoke, you said something when you was talking about the first clip. You said that he throws out there hints of racism, and this is where a lot of people say, he throws out dog whistles, is what they would call it, right? And the hints of racism. So I want you to give me an example, because personally for me, and maybe it's because of like all the different little studying that I did and the watching full context of videos, what is it that you would say is a hint of racism that he throws out?
For example, and this might have been a long time ago, but there was a time when, and I'm gonna give you a couple of different examples. One of which is like he was eating tacos and he said, and he related what he was his taco eating to something as it relates to the immigration Mexican situation. Now, it wasn't racist. It wasn't outrageously racist, but it was one of those things that, you know. And another thing, when he said, "Oh, that's my African American," and it might have been a slip of words. There's just certain things, but I think what my overall statement that we're missing is that it's not necessarily, I think everyone has different levels of prejudice. And one thing he said that was very powerful is racism's overly used.
But wait a minute, I got to stop you real quick. Sorry to interrupt you, but racism and prejudice is two different things.
Totally different things. That's true. 100% true. Now, this is the irony about it, because like I mentioned, I am a strong Trump supporter. And when I've been called by liberals a racist, a bigot, all of these things by white people because I support Trump. They've called me homosexual slurs because of the name of my channel. Smoke pole. A smoke pole is a gun, but they've called me all kind of. And this is the party of
all because you're a Trump supporter.
All because I'm a Trump supporter. They called me all kind of Uncle Tom or this, that, and the other. So it's like, you know, I don't want my point to be misconstrued, because if you ask me if anybody is racist, I have great friends that have hints of racism and prejudice, and it's just a very blurred line between those two things, because all of us may make assumptions of somebody off of the meeting them, and all of us might say things that I've said things that might be considered racist towards this group, that group, or the other group, but it's just not my concern, because it doesn't really speak to the core of who someone is. So I feel like it's almost it's not a really fair conversation to have, because if we do have this conversation, then we have to start talking about, okay, does this person hang with Ku Klux Klan members? What is it what is it
like Biden?
Right, like Biden. So what is it that defines racism? Then you have I know that a lot of people bring up the situation with
Charlottesville
housing. No, with the housing.
Oh.
Yeah, that's another one. I was going to get to that, but like with the housing and the housing discrimination and so forth. And these are things that are legitimate to some people. It's just not.
But do you know the situation with the housing?
No, please enlighten me.
All right, so with the housing, they were trying to get him to use his housing for welfare recipients, which doesn't necessarily mean black. And he said, no, he's not using his housing for welfare recipients, because people that don't buy their homes won't take care of their homes like somebody who would use their own money to get it. So he refused it. And people attributed that to him racially discriminating based off of race, when in actuality, that's the racist statement, to say that people that are people that are on welfare are only black.
Or inherently just black. It just means
so that's how they manipulate. So let me pull up real quick.
And that case was actually Fred. It was actually US v. Fred Trump. That was his dad. It wasn't even him.
Yeah, exactly.
It was in 1973, I think, or 71. So
Right.
it was very close to that time period.
Real quick, SK, and I'm gonna give you the floor. Racism by definition, right? Prejudice, discrimination, or antagonistic by an individual, or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is minority or marginalized. All right. That doesn't sound like Trump at all, in my opinion, right? Because everything that he's done has helped out all Americans. That's the way I see it. So when we talk about him making statements about like eating tacos or, you know, like the Mexicans or whatever, that's not racist. That's just like me. I make all kind of racial jokes. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not equated to a racist because of my joking. It's just I have some really dark humor, and that is a part of American culture, if we're going to be real. 100%. All the different American comedians.
That's a whole nother level of what you're opening up.
Exactly.
That is part of American culture. And
exactly.
That's the unifying. I believe strongly that what we've done is we've taken that out. We've taken the ability to have those jokes and have those conversations, because really, when you think about globally speaking, right? If I was to have a child in India, they're not going to call my child Indian. If I was to go to have a child in China, they're not going to call my child Chinese. The crazy part about it is America, the fabric of what makes us unified, even just the three of us sitting here now, is that, man, it doesn't matter our religion, it doesn't matter our color, it doesn't matter any of that. but we're Americans. And the minute you take patriotism out of the mix of what makes us American, and we start putting other things more important, like whether it's color of your skin, whether it's your religious ideology, when those things become more important, that's when we become less American. Because, man, the one binding force between all of us is the fabric of us being all kind of different things, and we are American. And that's why it's so sad that they're taking the Pledge of Allegiance out, that they're taking the nationalism and the pride to being American out of the whole system. And then that's what's really causing us to have huge divides when there's, because look at, and this might be difficult to some people, and people might not agree with me, but I don't care if it's somebody kneeling during the national anthem, because you know what? It's his America. And that's what makes America so great, is that we all can have our own elements and understandings and experiences of America. But as long as we have that national pride to say, hey, look, you know, that's what America's about, is to be able to have the freedom to say what you want to say. And when you send your kid to school, they're going to be safe. Say
Facts.
what you want to say. And you know what? When you leave, your house isn't going to be burning. When you aren't going to get beat up for this. And that's
Facts.
what makes America great.
100%. I agree. SK.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just like I was saying before about keeping us divided, and about the comedy, I was going to bring that up as well. That I feel like once they started censoring comedy, because I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, so comedy was completely different when I was growing up than it is now. And as soon as they started censoring comedy, I feel like that's when we started actually losing our First Amendment rights, and we used to be able to all sit around and joke about each other. We would joke about ourselves. We would joke about everyone. And, I said something to one of my older kids, the other day, and I said, we all used to make fun of each other. We used to make fun of all races, including our own. Like, we all made fun of each other and everybody laughed together. And it was more unifying that way, when we could all laugh at ourselves and everybody else. And nobody said, oh, he made a joke, that's super racist. Also, the definition of racism, they have changed, by the way, because it used to be hatred for an entire race of people. It used to actually say hatred. And now they've changed it to include like prejudice and things like that.
That just
we all have prejudices. Right, exactly. Because that's not the definition. They've changed it. And the definitions change with culture. And that's not how it should be. Racism used to be hatred of an entire group of people. And I feel like the way that word is even used now, it's meaningless. People use it so often and throw it around and use it when it's not warranted, that it makes the word not worth what it should be worth. Whenever you're calling people racist when they're not actually racist, it makes the word meaningless, and it doesn't hold weight anymore whenever there's somebody that is actually racist.
100% agree.
Imagine that In Living Color came out today.
Right. Or Dave Chappelle. Or Dave Chappelle.
Well, Dave Chappelle's a little bit more recent, but In Living Color was one of the foundations that made all of the great comics, whether it's
the Wayans brothers all day long.
The Wayans brothers.
And so many
don't
other,
play that.
Oh, so many comics came from that aura and that foundation. And that whole
Richard
entire
Pryor.
show.
Can you imagine Richard Pryor?
What? And that whole entire show would have been considered extreme hate speech. And that's what I feel is so tragic in what's going on today, because that is the foundation of America. Being able to say whatever you're willing to fight for, say what you want to say. But, it's really a sad place that we've come to, that even when you type something online, if the internet gods don't like it, then you're shut down, it's just sad, man. And it's un-American.
I agree. It's very un-American, which is why, again, I'm glad that Trump's back in the office.
Absolutely.
So to transition just a little bit, and kind of go back, actually, you were going to bring up the Charlottesville. What were you going to say about the Charlottesville?
Are you referring to me?
Yeah.
I was going to talk about the Central Park, the Central Park 5 or whatnot.
Let's do it.
And when I think he had mentioned something about how those guys should cook and so forth. And admittedly, after a admission to guilt and so forth. So I understand the sequence of events. But yeah, and I'm again playing devil's advocate, because it's difficult to say these things, because at the end of the day, I wanted to make it very, very clear. These are things that are completely secondary to values that I hold very strongly. The values that I hold very strongly is why I support Trump. and there's a few of them that are undebatable, you know, and those are usually my main focus. It's interesting that I'm right now I'm you know, defending a point that I'm usually defending against, but I feel that really frequently a lot of people jump to conclusions such as guilt when it comes to African Americans and Black people. I've been considered and assumed guilty of things of being things that I'm totally not, of all kind of stuff. And when certain type of rhetoric is used, you know, it just kind of it's reminiscent of those assumptions that I've experienced my entire life. So, you know, people will want to chop my head off and they'll put me in a certain specific category just off of assumptive things. And I think, although he wasn't president at the time, one of the things that really displays leadership is sometimes being a little bit more patient to jump to conclusions. And I think that was something that he may have kind of found useful, to hold off on an opinion that was so extremely damning. Because if I remember correctly, his opinion was, for that, man, those guys should be, like, you know, electrocuted or something really.
He said that they deserve to bring back the death penalty. That they deserve death penalty, which I didn't disagree with, especially when you read it in context. After, you notice that all of those statements was made before everybody found out that they were innocent. They had pled guilty or got whatever the case was. And this was what was said by him, along with probably everybody that was in prison was thinking the same thing, thinking when they get there, if we catch these dudes, it's over with, because that's just how it works. And I just came from prison. Whether you are guilty or you're not guilty, if you come in and that is on your jacket and you pled to that, and oh, bro, if you are a raper, you're gonna get hit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's it. And every real person in the world, like every real American today, if you found out that somebody did something like that, you will be calling for the same exact thing if you thought that they were guilty because of their own words, things that they said, that they admitted guilt to this. I don't see how people can still try to hold the Central Park thing over them. It's SK.
Yeah, I was just going to say, usually on like TikTok live debate panels, whenever this topic comes up, I always pull the actual article and I read it out loud, because he does not mention the Central Park Five even one time in the article. He talks about the citizens of New York, people of all colors, aren't able to enjoy the city anymore. The crime rate in New York City at that time, I even pulled the crime rate to be able to have. The crime rate in New York City at that point in time was at the highest it had been in history. It went up a little bit in the early 90s, but the late 80s and early 90s in New York City was the most dangerous time in New York City. You couldn't, in that article, he even says people couldn't go out and ride their bikes with their families. They couldn't sit on their stoops and, you know, enjoy the weather, or, you know, speak to their neighbors and do those things. You couldn't walk down the street in New York City. The muggings were at all-time highs. There were people being raped and unalived all over New York City. It was extremely dangerous. And all he was asking in that article was to the title of it is Bring Back the Death Penalty, Bring Back the Police. And he's literally saying that the mayor needs to do his job by letting the police do their job, because the police were being kept from doing their job. And anytime someone went to be arrested, people started screaming, you know, police brutality. So it made the police officers afraid to do their jobs. There was a lot of things going on in New York City at that time period. And I don't think we can fully understand the context of what he was saying and what was happening without looking back at that time period and the events that were taking place.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Go ahead, brother.
Just to understand you guys' perspective on a larger scale. Do you believe, or do you see that a lot of times, and not even a lot of times, almost more frequently than not, an assumption of guilt when it comes to Black men?
Well, 100%.
Okay, so if we can be honest with that, this is where the connection lies with a lot of Black people, where if you are, and this is where it's kind of tricky with this situation because of the admission of guilt. When you start,
right, that's like, where I was going to say that's the difference maker.
That's a significant difference. But it's just from my own personal experience. I've walked through neighborhoods and the assumption of guilt exists. And one of the things that bothers me the most when it comes to modern day racism is that modern day racism is not necessarily just saying, oh, you N-word, or you this, or hey. Modern day racism, what I found recently, is the ignoring the existence of it. So it's almost like, for example, Oh man, no, everything's all good. That's not even no. Cops never kill black people because of this, or this isn't happening. They ignore the existence of certain realities as a black man that you are so obviously aware of that it becomes like, come on, disrespectful to the point where like you think that this is not happening.
But Joe, isn't that the what you just said right now, right?
Mhm.
Isn't the assumption of guilt just the exact same, maybe even worse, when it comes to thinking that a white person is racist?
100%. It's the same. It's the same thinking. It is the exact. It's almost like if you look for clouds every day, you're going to find rain.
Exactly.
So I totally get that. But there's more of a historical element behind assuming everyone's racist and assuming that every black person is some uncrazed Negro. You see what I'm saying?
But you know, I honestly, I don't think that most people in the country feel that way. I don't think that most of the people in the country automatically think that black people are crazy, unhinged Negroes. I think that it's the media making us think that that's how the rest of the world feels.
Yeah.
Because on your day to day, when you interact,
the media is influential. Sorry about that.
Well, no, you good. When we interact with people on a day to day, right? When I go outside my door and interact with people on a day to day, when there's just, we don't have anything we're not talking about anything, we don't know each other. When I walk past that person, they are not looking at me thinking, oh, this nigga's crazy. And I'm not looking at them thinking this white person is a racist. You know what I'm saying? It's none of that. It's not until we have some kind of discourse to where maybe they say something that might trigger me to think that they're a racist, or they might see me do something or act a certain way that might incline that I might be a criminal. You see what I'm saying? And this all comes down to a conditioning of the mind on how we view things, on how we view people, on what we think, what we equate with crime. So automatically, when you get a white person that has never seen real like black people in their face all the time, they might see somebody dressed in the attire, somebody that's like in hip hop or having a hat cocked, or they wearing some kind of colors or the way that they talk, and automatically think like, oh shit, he's just like the guy from that movie, or he's just like the guy from that music that my kid listens to.
Is that not racist? Is the question?
No, that's not
it's
racist.
Prejudicial.
I think that's prejudicial and maybe a stereotype.
Well, then let's take that exact same scenario and escalate it, right? That kid's walking down the neighborhood street, right? Right. That person that's prejudicial calls the cops. Man, there's this spooky looking dude walking down the street. He's black. He's got his hat cocked, yada, yada, right? Then that prejudicial cop's on his way there. And then when that prejudicial cop gets there, instantly sees the kid who's, let's say, 12 years old playing with a cap gun in the park, and then pulls out a gun, shoots him instantly. You see what I'm saying? Now, where does the line start?
Let me ask
the question. At what point before that kid dies can something be called racist? Where or is racism not even existing in that circumstance?
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think we can all say that nothing about that is right. I think his scenario was just people like thinking in their mind, when they see somebody, everybody, when you're out in public, if you look at somebody, everybody even subconsciously makes their own.
I'm asking a specific question. What point of that kid dying can you?
Well, you're using the Tamir. Is that Tamir Rice that happened to?
Well, I'm saying that's wrong. I don't think anybody would say that that's right or okay.
I'm not asking when it's wrong. What I'm asking is what point does racism exist in this situation? I think it is a Tamir.
Well, here I'll answer it. Racism will exist in that situation if nothing happens to the cop.
Yes, there it is.
That's when racism will exist. If nothing happens to a cop that pulled out his gun on a 12-year-old kid because somebody called and seen a spooky character.
If he gets let off on that crime,
that's when I would say, okay, maybe there's some racist elements involved in that. But that's a hypothetical, situation that maybe it has happened before. We've seen situations like that where the 12-year-old kid had the cap gun and, or a BB gun or whatever it was, and the police popped them. But again, all of this stuff goes into the conditioning of the mind of the person. If police officers was trained in the right way, that would never happen. If the media wasn't always putting out black people are criminals, that wouldn't happen.
And see, that's my point. Somewhere in this whole element, right? And I agree with everything, almost everything you guys are saying. What I disagree with is that, man, somewhere in this situation, before this kid even dies, something's racist about it. And I think it's just inherently, and this is why I said the same thing about Trump as I say about Biden and all of them. I think everyone has certain levels of racism, or if you want to call it prejudice or whatnot. I think certain levels of racism have more power than others. Like there's a lot of black people that might dislike white people, right? But and I don't even know if I can even say that, because in my personal experience, there's not a lot of black people that just have an inherent dislike for white folks. And just to be honest, other people might have a different experience. Just the ones I hang out with don't hate white people. Like they don't see a white person just say, man, that damn white person. Like it just doesn't happen in my circles. But I'm not saying it doesn't happen in all circles. What I'm saying is that in some form of fashion, whether it's historical, I think these judgments and these prejudgments and these things that we call prejudice that lead to certain results, whether it's black kids dying, whether it's mistreatment from what was the young lady that was just saying, oh, I rebuke you in the name of God or whatever. And then the cop shot. Like
that was Sonia Mays or Sonia Massey. Yeah.
Like, I think the new racism is not acknowledging that these things are racially motivated and acting as if, oh, it's just this, and everything except for racism. Now I'm not.
Yeah, but that cop went to jail. That's my whole point.
Yeah.
Look, this is the thing. This is the thing. We can't stop people from having a flawed mind. We can never stop a white person from being racist towards black people if that's what they want to be, or a black person from being racist towards white people if that's what they want to be. Right. But we cannot. This is where it gets. This is the problem that I have when we say that it is this majority of people that are like this. No, it's not. It's a small minority of people within our country that have a flawed way of thinking. They get put on a pedestal by the media to make us believe that this is what the whole country is experiencing. And it's not real. It's not real. And we could see that when we go outside every single day in our interactions with people on a day-to-day basis. 100%. Go ahead, SK, and then we're going to go to Millie.
And I would like to point out to the fact of, people talk about, the racism, like the inherent racism, and like that all of the systems in our country are racist and things like that. I would like to point out that there have been laws that have been made in this country that are intentional, that are racist. I mean, we can all admit that. Facts. But let's also admit the fact that Donald Trump's the first one that actually did anything about that.
Facts.
I mean, the First Step Act and allowing, because I don't know how many people know the history of the laws for things like, can we say whatever we want on here? I'm not used to being able to just talk.
Yeah, you
freely.
can talk just as long as you ain't calling nobody no racial slurs.
For like crack, let's say crack cocaine. Okay. The laws for crack cocaine, whenever they were made, they were very, very strict. It kind of didn't matter how much you had. If you were dealing it, or you were just had a personal use amount, you were getting thrown in prison for a long time. And it was racist as hell, because at that point in time, the highest users of that substance were minorities.
Yeah,
and it was right.
Exactly. We know.
Right. Exactly. So we know, but now the only person that's made steps to actually make that right and to retroactively let people out of prison that have been sitting in prison for decades for having just a personal amount of crack cocaine is Donald Trump. That's who did that.
And again, I'm not arguing against Donald Trump. I'm arguing against the fact that racism does not exist in all of these systems. For example, I mean, you can go into the COINTELPRO, you can go into like elements that extend way further back. And I'm just saying that nowadays we try to act as if it's just non-existent. And I'm just saying that it is very existent. I just am not concerned with it, because I believe that racism is something that the more you need from somebody, the more you'll care about it. And I really don't need much from anybody.
And I just want to make it clear that I don't think any of us are saying that racism doesn't exist at all. I think that it's just being made into a bigger deal and continue to be pushed. And then you're growing up a whole new generation of people that are hearing and being told these people are racist. Racism is in everything, instead of us, like I said before, there's going to always be people that are just trash human beings on both sides of the aisle. I feel like we just need to start working together and coming together and shifting the narrative. And let's quit telling our kids that these people are all racist and these people are all horrible. Let's talk more about we're all Americans, and, let's unify and figure out the issues that we have in this country that we can all agree are issues, and then work to solve those issues first.
All right, I agree with that 100%.
100%.
SK. Millie, what's going on, sister? How you doing?
Good. How are you? I'm so sorry I'm late. I was
Oh,
doing
you're good.
recycling when I got the notification. But look, I think that people have a habit of judging people based on what their background is, like crime, right? If you have a felony on your record, people are going to judge you by that felony because they're just going to immediately think, well, you're a criminal. They're not going to care what kind of crime it was, if it was a violent crime or not. But people also like, there's reasons why they have people cut their hair a certain way and that they're shaven a certain way, because people can judge people based off appearance. If you have an appearance that looks like it's unkept, right? If you have like a beard that is not groomed, people can judge you based on that. That's why
Not
when you
clean
go
like me
into a
and this
lot
brother's
of
beard is what you mean? I mean, you know,
well, if you were to work in a corporate environment, right? A corporate environment is not likely to let you walk around with an unkept hairstyle and an unkept facial grooming. It's just not likely in a corporate environment. Even when you're working at grocery stores, right? They have you cover up your tattoos, all this kinds of stuff, right? Because people judge people based off of certain appearances, even outside of race. So there's lots of, prejudice when it comes to stuff like that. Do I think it's wrong? Yeah. Do I think that we need to change the way people think about culture? Yeah. Definitely
I
something
agree.
that needs to be done.
So real quick, you guys, I wanted to pull up this other video because this is always one that gets misconstrued by people. It's been debunked, but I still feel the need because it still gets said in my comment section about Charlottesville, about Trump saying there were good people on both sides. So I wanted to play the whole video in context. It's only 2 minutes long, but it's informative. And it's, again, this is to battle the misinformation that gets put out by the media. And people use these talking points, and I just want to squash it. Because Trump, many times you've seen the video that I made before, all the different times that Trump denounced white supremacy and denounced the Triple K, denounced the Nazis. Well, let's hear it one more time.
They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same picture.
And that's where they stopped the video, right there, when he says that there was very good people on both sides, or very fine people on both sides. That's where they always stop the damn video, and that's what they put on the news. We seen Anderson Cooper, you know what I mean? He did it. All of these different people do it. But let's keep watching.
As you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now, we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And
Now, right there, he said it. I'm not talking about the racists. Basically, I'm going to paraphrase. I ain't talking about them racist motherfuckers. I'm talking about the regular people that came out just to protest about the statues. Now, what about the black people that was protesting on the other side and the people that was with Antifa? What do you got to say about them, Trump?
the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits. And
who was out there? BLM, who infiltrated Antifa. He made a distinction. He talked about BLM, very fine people. But then you had the white people come out with the mask. You heard what he said? He even called them out. He didn't say it was black people. He said the white people to come out with the mask, the liberals, the super leftists.
And with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
I'm sorry, I just didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly? I just don't understand what
See,
you're
they
saying.
try to trip
There
them
were
up.
people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, they were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people.
There it is. There it is. They try to trip him up and try to get him to say, oh, you're talking about the white nationalists, even though he just condemned them. He literally just condemned them, and they try to trip him up again so they can get a nice little news headline. And this is what the media has consistently done when it comes to Trump. Everything that he says, taken out of context, when he was talking about MS-13 and them being violent, murderers, drug dealers, rapists, all of those things, they try to say that he was talking about Mexicans. He didn't say nothing about Mexicans. He said again, they are not sending us their best and their brightest. They're sending us their... And before he said those things, he was talking about MS-13s. He was talking literally about the gang. But they made it towards Mexicans. And this is what the media does, media deception, to play the game, talking about Trump's a racist. Trump ain't no damn racist, bro.
I have another audio that most people don't have, because the one that you played is very well known and historic, but this one is also pretty good as well.
And wounded 20 others. To anyone who acted criminally in this weekend's racist violence, you will be held fully accountable. Justice will be delivered. As I said on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. And as I have said many times before, no matter the color of our skin, we all live under the same laws. We all salute the same great flag. And we are all made by the same Almighty God. We must love each other, show affection for each other, and unite together in condemnation of hatred, bigotry, and violence.
Love it.
We must discover the bonds of love and loyalty that bring us together as Americans.
I love
It's about a 5-minute clip, but
I need you to send me that one, Millie.
Yeah, I got you. Are we friends on Discord? Because I have some clips I can send to you. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Okay. No, that was amazing. That was amazing. Smoke, how you feel about that, my bro?
Man, like I said, man, I think first we have to get a consistent. I think everybody's understanding of what racism is a little bit different. You know what I mean? So, what I might see as racist might be subtle or mild prejudice to another person. So, I have friends that I would consider racist, whether they're white, black, or otherwise, you know what I mean? So yeah. I think I'm a little bit more sensitive to what I consider to be a racist. And again, like I mentioned, overall, it's just not something that I'm overly concerned with at all.
Right.
But there are certain things that that to me are very reminiscent of my own personal experiences as a young black man that has, experienced racism. And when certain things are said, when certain things are insinuated or hinted towards, then it reflects that particular vein in me. You know what I mean? So there's certain things that he said, that I've heard that I feel reflect a racist hint. But for example, let me give you a good example, right?
All right.
And this, you guys might not even agree to any extent. I think that befriending rappers in the black community and associating that with blackness or the black community is racist in itself for any intelligent black person. Now, I say that Kamala did the same thing. Like when you go and get what's it, Megan Thee Stallion, and she's twerking her butt, and
you're talking about pandering.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I don't think that's racism. I think 100%. That's a pander.
Right. But then that's now we're talking about what are different levels of racism. When you go and you what do you exonerate Lil Wayne or something, but you're leaving, political prisoners in prison. Like, to me, there's certain things that, like, and you think that you did something for the Black community. To me, that's inherently racist. Like, if you pardon Lil Wayne, but you have, real political prisoners of struggles that were directly related to racism. Like, man, when people try to justify him not by being a racist by saying, man, he's friends with such and such and such and such, and like Black entertainers, to me, as an intelligent Black person, it rubs me wrong. And, it hints towards that description of racist. But under that description, all of them are racist. And that's why if racism was my deciding factor, I wouldn't vote at all, personally.
May I comment on that?
Yeah,
you know who Nelson Mandela is, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Everybody knows he was a political prisoner.
He was a good friend of Nelson Mandela, helped him get out. Totally understand.
Right.
But to me, when you use
our federal government refused to help him, he sent his private jet.
Those examples to me does not alleviate somebody from being a racist. Like saying like that would, because what I'm saying is, like, I've helped a white person, an old white lady, get across the street. But it's like using the excuse, I have white friends or I have gay friends.
No.
So then this is what I'm saying. So you have this is the thing that I'll say, Smoke. I love you to death. I love all of y'all, by the way. Even if we have a difference of opinion, all of y'all, my brothers and sisters, love y'all. Okay.
Likewise.
But here's the thing. You have to work too hard to create the definition of racism. If we use the original definition of racism, Trump just doesn't fit the description. Now, if you mutate it to mean a whole bunch of different things, well, then, like you said, everybody can be racist. But racism at its truth, they cannot be.
It's hatred.
Yeah,
if you hate someone, if you hate an entire group of people, you're not going to help that old white lady across the street. You're going to look at that white lady and say,
and hope she get hit
she's
by a
on her
car.
own. Yeah, you're going to hate her. You're not. It's hatred. It's actual hatred. They have changed the word racism to be something completely different. Whenever we were younger, when you were racist, you were like, actually, you hated people that had a different skin color than you, or people with a certain race or skin color or whatever. I have experienced racism.
Pardon me. I'm sorry. Excuse me real quick. Whoever this person is, y'all, don't do what they're asking for. I don't know this person, and I got to figure out how to delete that comment. I don't know this dude. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I've experienced racism myself whenever we're debating and we have somebody from the left come up and they immediately first thing will bring up the racism thing. And then they say, oh, I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she supports LGBTQ and she's not racist. And then she goes on, and as soon as she gets put in a corner on her argument, she starts going off on one of our friends who happens to be a Black member of the LGBT community that's also a Trump supporter. And she just assumed, coming up on the panel, that he was on her side. And when she found out he was a Trump supporter, she completely lost it and started calling him
just moved the bar
all kinds of names.
She hates you? Does that mean she?
No. Hold on.
She hates that person. Hold on. Then that's different than what you're describing is different.
Hold on.
Than racism.
But hold on, because then I said, well, I'm Native American. And she said, no, you're not. And I said, yes, I am. And I get attacked whenever I say I'm Native American because people look at me and they think my skin is too white.
Is that because now we have a different standard? Because I was going to say something very interestingly similar. Like, as a Black person, when you say racism, right? There's been times that I haven't been given the same opportunity as the white person. Is that racist? There's been times that I've been, I wasn't given the same position. I wasn't given the same advancements. Is that racism? But if it's just racism when it comes to hate, my baby's here. If it's just racism when it comes to hate, when it's associated with Black people, but when it's associated with you, somebody's assumptions are identified as racism. That's a totally different bar you're setting for yourself as opposed to what the bar is for the average, for myself. So if I say that I'm offended by this and somebody assumes that I'm a killer, so they call the police on me, no, that's not racism. But if somebody assumes that you support Kamala because of such whatever reasons you just said, and that you're Native American, so they assume this, and you identify that as racism, you have a different bar for yourself than you have for a Black person.
No, I think it would be more like you telling someone, I'm a black man, and they look at you and they say, no, you're not a black man. And then
Is that
spew
racist?
all sorts of actual hate towards you and horrible language at you because of the fact you're saying I'm a black man, and they're looking at you and saying, no, you're not a black man.
And that would and then I could justifiably say that person's racist.
Well, if somebody
I
is
still
using
wouldn't
it
say.
as,
I still wouldn't say that that's racist. A racist is somebody who hates you for your race and wants to keep you underneath them. They have superiority over you. They feel superior to you because of their race, and because of your race, you are inferior. That is racism. That's racism.
That's
Simple
exactly
as
where I was
that.
going, because it went further than that. I mean, she was literally telling us that she's better than us, and that, you know, she was saying all of those things that he just said.
Wow.
I mean, it was horrible. And it happens to me a lot. Anytime I bring up being Native American, that's where certain people immediately go to those things and try to deny it, and, you know, say, well, you're too white for that. Well, my skin is white, but everything else about me is Native American.
I heard that. Me personally, for Cash, I'm a bit of a nationalist. I think that the American people are the greatest on the planet. That's just me. I think that's just who I am. I don't discriminate against nobody else. Like if somebody is, you know, a Chinese person, I don't think that they are less than me. I just think that we're way cooler type deal. You know what I'm saying? That's how I would look at it. Like, I wouldn't treat them as if, oh, you peasant, you're just a Chinese person. No, I wouldn't do that. I'm just saying that, oh, you from China, or you won't even know, bro. Is hidden over here. You know, America's the greatest.
I'll add one more to that too. And then that Chinese American, he's just as American as me. You see what I'm saying?
The Chinese American.
There you go.
100%.
I would equate it even to like a family member. Like, okay, you know, you have those family members that you don't really like and you don't really get along with. And so you're constantly fighting with them, and you maybe might not be very nice to them. But when it comes down to it, and if somebody at your family member, you're going to stand up and be like, oh, no, you're not. That's how I feel Americans are. And instead of focusing on the fact that Americans are like that, like, even if, you know, we might have a difference in culture or in background, in history, you know, all of these things, we are Americans. And when it comes down to it, when the rubber meets the road, I know that my fellow Americans are going to stand up for me regardless of what color I am, because I'm an American.
And that's why I believe that this America First, like, ideology is such a powerful uniting, has the ability to powerfully unite America, because America was based on principles that we have not yet actualized. But the principles that it was based on are some phenomenal principles. Like our Constitution, our founding fathers had a vision that we've not yet achieved.
Genius.
We have not yet achieved, but is a phenomenal vision. And if we can kind of essentially, somewhat like what you said, put our personal things aside, like, man, the American Indian's gone through hell in this country. Man, the black man has gone through hell in this country. You know, like, there's a lot of us that have different pasts, that have a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, and a lot of legitimate stuff that happened. But if we can unite, and that's why this America First ideology is so powerful, because if we can look at each other and say, hey, look, you know what, man, yeah, my ancestors, it wasn't even that long ago. Like, you got to keep in mind, especially civil rights movement, this was my parents' generation. This wasn't a long time ago. And this is why I say it's so dangerous to be a race neglector. Because, see, when you start saying, man, look at and I hope I can say nigga, but, like, usually that's the only thing you can say without any consequence. But, like, when you can start saying, man, look at this nigga, man, why are they like that? And you totally neglect that, man, my parents came from a generation, they couldn't use the same bathroom. They try to make it seem like it was a long time ago. And this is why I try to preach to my fellow brothers and sisters, like, hey, look, I know there's a lot of pain, and it's right under the surface. It's right under the surface. But if we can start unifying under this concept of the ideologies and the principles of what this nation is supposed to be, not what it is, not what it was yesterday, but what it's supposed to be. And if there's enough of us, whether it's white, black, Indian, Chinese or whatnot that can really grab onto those principles, man, we will be a nation that's so strong.
All right, so I want to piggyback, and I just want to add this. All right, I just want to add this to the conversation. But what you just said, my brother, facts, right? And I want everybody to think of this way moving forward. When we say, slavery wasn't that long ago, or people couldn't drink at the same water fountain just a little bit ago, right? That's true. When you look at how young our country actually is, to see how far we have come from that point, even we'll use segregation, from segregation until now, from the civil rights movement until now, there is no other country in the world that has done what we have done. That should be part of our strength. That should be that part of history should be attributed to the strength of the dream that the founding fathers had for this country, to say, you know what? Yeah, we got some messed up shit in the background of our country, but look at where we are now. They have elected a black man to be the president of the United States. They had a female brown person running for the president of the United States. We have molded. There's no other country on the face of the planet that produces more black millionaires than the United States of America. There is more black wealth in America than there is around the whole world. If the black people in America put their money together in this country right now, they would be I think it was the third wealthiest country.
100%.
So there's no other black population in the world that has it as good as we have it right here in America. And we did that in a short time span, which is why America is the greatest country in the entire world.
No doubt.
I don't give a damn what nobody say. It's the greatest.
I feel like it would be remiss of me not to point out right here that this right here is why they keep us divided by these things. And this is why the whole, nationalist thing about Trump and the Schnazi stuff, or I guess I can say Nazi. Yeah. The Nazi stuff and calling him a Nazi and saying that the nationalism is, a Nazi thing, and that, Trump's going to use this and blah, blah, blah. But this is the problem. They don't want us to be united together, regardless of our heritage, where we came from. If you're an American, you're an American.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing.
That's the only, that's exactly. So whenever they start trying to make nationalism out to be something bad, I even saw someone on MSNBC trying to make the Bill of Rights out to be Christian nationalism. And they, in the segment I was watching, they said that there's an entire group of people in this country that really believe that these, 10 rights were given to you by God, and that is Christian nationalism. Not that you're inherently given these things by your creator because you exist.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but what you're saying is so powerful. And that is super manipulation, because that is you said it perfect. That's the only thing we got.
It's the only thing.
Because look, we can look at each other right now, and you know what? And I was talking to a couple people at the gym about this, right? Is that one thing that really makes America beautiful? One of the many things that makes America great is that, like, you and I, right? You can go home, you can talk whatever you want. You can say, I hate Biden. I can say, I hate Trump. I can say, I dislike this. And you know what? We can both go home. We can send our kids to school the next day, and we can, you can't do that in other countries. You can't talk about the government. You can't have an opinion. You can't live in a free way. And when it really boils down to it, the only thing that unites us as one is that we believe in those principles without even saying it. Without even saying it, we all want we want similar things. We all want our kids to be safe when they leave. We want to be able to believe whatever you want in your house, whenever you want to believe, as long as it ain't hurting me. Man, these things are so American, and these things are so nationalistic. For them to try to demonize that is truly divisive.
That's the only thing that unites us. Exactly.
Me too.
Exactly. And here's the thing. And it's not saying that any one of us in this country are better than the other one. It's saying our country is great. And our country is great for these reasons, because of the fact that we are different, because of the fact that we come from different places. We have different cultures. We have different backgrounds. And yet it still all works, because at the end of the day, we are all Americans, Just like I said with family, you have those family members that you can't stand. Sometimes, I mean, like, don't even like them, maybe not even speak to them. But when it comes down to it, if that family member needs something, you're going to be there regardless.
Yes.
And that's how it is in this country. And we need to remember that. We need to remember that whenever our soldiers are fighting for this country, they aren't standing on the front lines looking to their left or their right and saying, oh, there's a black man next to me, or oh, there's a white person next to me. Are they going to help me if I need help? Not a single one of those soldiers are looking at each other and looking at their skin color. They are all Americans standing together fighting, and they will do anything and everything they can for their fellow man.
Yeah, my father's a Vietnam vet. And, you know what? He said that exact same thing. He said, you know, and even though they came home and he got spit on and called a nigga, you know what I mean? The reality of it is that, man, you know, and sports will also teach you that a lot too. If any of you guys ever played sports, you know, especially football, where it's a sport where you can get your head split a little bit. But man, it'll teach you that, like, yo, you know, brotherhood has principles that supersede race, supersede religion, supersede all of that. It's like, man, it's your core person. And that's what makes these founding principles that make us all Americans such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And when people are against that, or they want to throw that out, like, what do you want to stand on? Like, what do you want to stand on? We can't agree on the same God to believe in. We can't agree on the same, on what black people can't even agree on what they want to be called. You know what I mean? But what we can agree on.
I want to be called American.
You know,
right? Exactly.
That's my point. Some people look at that as disrespect, and it's all crazy. And you know what? I don't even want to even argue with them. But can we agree on these principles?
Yeah, no other country does that except for us. Every other country just goes by what the nationality is. And in our country, it's like we divide everybody up by their race and ethnicity, which is just actually wild. But we were never as united as we were after 9/11. Once we all saw those towers fall and we were all hurt. Same with Pearl Harbor. We united. We had one common goal, one common enemy, and we all united around that.
But we need to unite on positivity. See, we don't need and this is because an enemy is easily, because right now, for example, like, everybody's all broken apart on the border situation. Wait until something happens. God forbid it ever does, but until something happens, then we're not going to be united. See, there's a lot of people that always go towards what feels good. And sometimes it feels better to be like, oh, it's okay, these people are humans. Me, I have a different perspective on things. I don't care if they're white, Ukrainian. I don't care if they're eating cats and dogs and they're Haitian. I don't give a damn what you are. I want them all out. I want them all to stop. I want them all out of here, because at the end of the day, I want Americans to be safe. At the end of the day, I want American families to prosper. As long as there's a veteran under a bridge, I don't give a damn what they're, or even not even just a veteran, an American under a bridge in every city in America. How are we even having this discussion about immigration? Get the fuck out of here. You see?
I just want to say that's fake news. I never said that black people were eating cats and dogs. Fake news. They lied. I said that there are people, that was reported to me at the mayor. He said, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. And I told you, and you called me fake, and I said, no, it's true. And the videos came out.
And I've been called, like, as a black man, you know, I've been called a racist by white folks and all kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm just an American first type of person. As long as we have American suffering, you know, I just can't cry tears for everyone else. I got enough stuff to cry about here. I got enough people to worry about and care for here. And we've been neglecting them for ever since my adult life. So I just, you know, I've noticed also that I've rubbed a lot of people weirdly wrong, in the sense of, you know, because they don't expect somebody of my complexion to say this, you know, but my family's fought in every war that this country's been in since World War II and possibly before then. And it's like, you know, I don't have to argue or negotiate my patriotism, even with the redneck. Even if the redneck feels that I'm not, like, I don't need that validation. My Americanism isn't validated through anybody. My Americanism is my patriotism is validated by my life and my experiences and my family.
It's validated by let me tell you something. It's validated by my birth certificate.
100%.
Unlike Obama. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. That's a joke. No, but hey, man, straight up, y'all, I appreciate you guys coming on with me. I want you guys to give your final thoughts, your final words, whatever you want to say to the people. Let them know where they can follow you guys at. And I just got one question before you all do that. Are you going to be joining me from now on? Are you guys going to be a part of this thing? Can we start doing these regularly? And you two down on the bottom, Millie and SK, you all are phenomenal researchers, and you're phenomenal at bringing up topics. I need y'all. Y'all. Smoke, you already know I definitely need you, my bro. On Truth to Set You Free, you got to be a part of it. And these moving forward, I think that this is a good squad right here. So
I'm happy with that.
I'd love to have y'all on regularly.
Well, let me say my piece first, because you brought up something interesting. I want to say one thing is you guys had me playing devil's advocate tonight. You know what I mean? Like, because to talk about racism is something like I really preach against caring much about. And the reason because like I mentioned, I feel like the more needy you are, the more you care about racism. So but I'm also very experienced and have been through a lot racially speaking.
I get that.
To where it's I found a lot of people being on, especially on the conservative side of things, what I call race neglectors. People who see the outcome but don't really look at the very recent things that have input to these outcomes of what Black people is currently going through. So it's just a very sensitive topic where it creates a little bit of confusion mentally for me, because I know strongly racism exists, but I just know that the more you can independently grab and control yourself, the less you care about it. And I've been able to successfully do that. So with that being said, man, you can check me out. I'm a gun enthusiast, Smoke Pole TV on all platforms. I review some of the flyest guns and some of the flyest equipment and some of the coolest stuff. It's very unique and it's really cool. So definitely check in with me. I also kick my political thoughts, and Mr. Kelly, Cash, I am more than appreciative.
I have a question for you before you leave. I didn't want you to drop out before I asked you this, but how do you feel of the fact that Malcolm X's family is now suing the federal government?
Yeah,
how do you guys take that?
I think it's a great thing, because I think realistically, there should be a little bit more of that. I think we're in the era of truth and exposure of really what's gone on, and that's part of it. Is that there has been so much, and then Martin Luther King's family should do the same thing, because the involvement of the CIA.
100%.
I just feel like we are in an era where we have to be honest, even if it doesn't feel good, and you have to be truth has to be exposed. Interesting thing that I'm starting to even realize is the connection with Hollywood. And although there's perverts and sexual degenerates on both sides, but the connection with Hollywood and the sexual degeneracy of these politicians on the left and what they're pushing, and just through the Black community and entertainment. And I don't want to talk about, there's another level of this that I'm really hesitant to talk about. I'll talk about that with Mr. Cash on off screen, just so I can because I don't want to negatively impact his podcast. But
I know what you're gonna bring up. We could talk about that on my conspiracy show.
And at
the conspiracy show,
the day, the media is being controlled, and it's and that's a very un-American element. And if you are an American, it should supersede whatever your religious faith is, in a sense of that's a principle of America. It's and Black people are being destroyed by that media. That same media we're talking about, we are being stomped on with the music.
It fuels people to hate.
Man,
are you on TikTok?
I am on TikTok. All you got to do is put Smoke Pole TV.
Okay, well, we're actually having a live tonight about this topic, because this isn't conspiracy. We're going to be talking about the propaganda. We're going to be talking about the propaganda. I mean, we have congressional reports. We have whole ass congressional investigations. We have documentation. I mean, this isn't conspiracy anything, and this is exactly what's going to be exposed.
100%.
So before we keep moving with this, y'all, tonight we are going to be on TikTok. SK, what time is that?
9:30 Eastern on
9:30 Eastern.
Patriot Dad EV 2.0.
And I'll be on there. So if you guys are following me on TikTok, all you got to do is click on my live. Well, it'll say that I'm live. So just click on it. It'll bring you straight to it. If you're following Millie or SK or Smoke Pole, they should all be there. So just click it and it'll bring you straight to that live. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be amazing. Not to cut everybody short, but I got to eat before we do all of this. So
pleasure meeting y'all.
Hey.
My TikTok is sk_dub_ or sk_dub33. I have two, and I'm not sure which one I'm using tonight. I think he tagged me in my 33 account. And on X, I'm sk_dub33.
And YouTube?
I sk_dub.
All right.
Yeah,
so
we're
y'all
starting
go and
up the
follow.
YouTube.
I just
Hey, I'ma
started
help
it.
y'all get
Like
it
I
going.
just added a profile picture right before I came on here.
We're going to get that thing going. Don't trip. We're going to get it together. Millie, tell them where they can find you at.
Yeah, so right now I have 2 accounts down on TikTok because, you know, they mass report there. But right now I'm on Millie Rutrow. So Millie and then RUHROH. And then my other account is Millie Verbal X. You can find me at both of those accounts. I talk a lot about economy, debunking the E. Jean Carroll situation, stuff about the border and abortion. So if those are topics that you're interested in, that's definitely something that I go over. I also want to say that I think we got really far away from what Martin Luther King's dream was, and I think that more people should listen to that speech again.
I agree.
Are you on X, Millie?
Equality.
I am on X, yes.
What's your X handle?
At Millie Verbal, same as this one.
Okay, at Millie Verbal, you guys. So you guys go follow all of these beautiful people. I appreciate y'all. So I got one last request before we get off, you guys. At the end of my mantra, I'm gonna point. When I point, I need y'all to be like, "Woo!" Cool? Is that cool? All right. Unite. Don't fight. Oh, sorry. Let me backtrack. Can y'all do me a favor and hit that like button real quick? Please hit the like button real quick and share this thing out to as many people as you possibly can, trying to provide some quality content and bring you all more influencers that I respect, that I follow, that I listen to, and get information from, that I bring to you all. So if you could like this and share this thing out if you enjoy the content. Also think about becoming a member of the YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate that. Don't forget to check out pilled.net, PILLED.net. Freedom of speech over there. We're streaming there right now as well, and we can say whatever the hell we want to. Everything, literally, it's amazing. It's American made. So go there, check it out. I'm bringing back the conspiracy show sometime this week, so y'all be on the lookout for that. It's going to be great. America's Conspiracy Compass. All right. With that being said, if you didn't like this video and share this video yet, I'm angry at you. All right. Now, unite. Don't fight. Be a street light, because only you can be the change you wish to see in the world. And when you get too stressed out, you got to remember to pray, America, because without God, everything falls apart. And that is a fact.
Woo!
Woo!
Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
that's
take
the
care,
show.
guys.